Hey, it's Rob and welcome to Axel's Garage. We are out here with our 87 GMC, not Chevy, GMC pickup. It's got a 4.3 liter V6 fuel injected throttle body injection, and we have been having, if you've been following along in our previous videos, we have been having some issues with cold start and engine cold reliability. When the engine warms up, the thing runs great. So we've been chasing some things down, and what I did notice, and what we're going to concentrate on today, is that the temperature gauge is very slow to react, and it doesn't ever fully warm up according to the gauge. Now, we don't know if the gauge works. We don't know a lot of the history on this vehicle. So pairing the gauge not ever fully warming up to drivability issues when it's cold, to feeling the heat blowing out of the heater box, not really getting very hot, would indicate to me that the engine is never really fully warming up, and we don't know for sure. What we do know, the little that we know, is that prior to it sitting for 5 to 10 years, a replacement engine was put in, a rebuilt from a reputable manufacturer, is what we were told. Whether it's I don't see any decals on it indicating, you know, it was a Jasper or a brand name, but they said they bought a rebuilt engine and it was installed by a shop. They didn't have any documentation or paperwork, so we don't know what the truth is. But what my hunch is that it's not fully warming up based on the heat that I'm getting. It just doesn't feel hot enough. Now, these vehicles are supposed to have a 195-degree thermostat in it. They could have rebuilt it, left the thermostat out. They could have rebuilt it and put a 180-degree thermostat or a 160-degree thermostat. Who the heck knows? We don't know. We can't tell. It never seems like it gets to this, you know, heats up and then stops at the same spot every time where a thermostat would open. So what I did was I went out, I got a genuine GM thermostat, probably made in China, 195 degree, and I got one of the Felpro gaskets that I like to use, the thicker rubber one with the little embedded O-ring in it. If you're still using those paper thermostat gaskets, God bless you, because they're such a bitch to get off. So we're going to replace the thermostat and gasket. I'll link these things in the description below. We'll make a little bit of a mess, which I don't care about, because the one thing we haven't power washed is all the grime and remnants of the mice that might have been living in here. So we will throw this thermostat and gasket in and see if that makes any change for us. Now, you could go about this one of two ways. You could leave the hose connected, or you can take the hose off. I usually take the hose off, but I'm going to leave the hose connected today because I don't like the way this bottom of the hose is kind of flaring out. It's not leaking now. I'm going to leave it connected. I'm just going to come in with my 9/16, and I'm hoping that they'll break free nice. That one did. Now we're going to get in on the other one. Vacuum hose in the way. See if I can get that off without damaging it. That looks old and crumbly. Put that up and out of the way. That's really tight. Man, I don't want to budge. I'm a little concerned. These things can corrode because they're A lot of times they're sitting in a water jacket. I'm just going to work it back and forth a little bit. I don't know if I'm bending the bolt. You don't know if you're turning the shaft of the bolt or it's starting to snap. So just to err on the side of caution, I'm going to try to work it back and forth. A little at a time. That feels better. Not great, but better. Okay. Now I am fully aware I'm going to make a little bit of a mess here. Like I said, not too concerned with making a mess on the engine because we haven't really gunked it down and cleaned it out and degreased it and everything yet. But you can see here a lot of corrosion around it. It doesn't appear to be really that bad. The more of the rust was in between the threads of the bolt. A lot of it just seems to be not necessarily rust corrosion. It's just that the corrosion you get from the coolant. Not too bad of a mess. There's a thermostat in it. I'm gonna have to scrape the rest of the gasket off on here. I'll tuck this away. Yeah, don't even want to come out. It's in there pretty good. And what do we got? We got a 195 degree thermostat in here. It's got it says 1102. Now I don't know if that's a date or not. No idea. But it was a 195 degree thermostat. I was hoping that it would be something other than that. Alright, so now I just got to go get a gasket scraper or a razor blade. Get this gasket off. And we will take it from there. I'm going to scrape the gasket off and I'll be back with you in a couple minutes. Alright, so I scraped off the gasket. I also took a rag and I sucked a little antifreeze out of the hole. I just shoved the rag in the hole to absorb some antifreeze so I didn't have some spilling over onto my gasket surface. I also, with a pick, probed these two holes. They don't go into water jackets like I thought they did. In a lot of small block Chevys, they go into water jackets. And on the bolts did not have any residual seal or anything. So what I did was I took the bolts, I put them on the bench grinder with the wire wheel and cleaned all the threads up, and then I lubed them up with white lithium grease just to protect them from corrosion when they go back in the hole. So now with the gasket surface there cleaned up and the gasket surface on the thermostat housing end cleaned up, we can move along to our gasket. Alright, and that just lays right on top like that. Nice and simple. The thermostat is actually going to go under the gasket. So your sensor end is going underneath the gasket because it's got to sit in that little shelf there. Okay, you want the opening here. See how there's an opening on either side facing the direction of water flow. So pretty much like that. And you put your gasket right on it. Now we can take our thermostat housing, and there was a longer bolt and a shorter bolt just by a hair. The longer bolt went in the back. So you find that hole there. On this one, now with the threads, you know, wire brushed off, the reason why I do that and put the white grease on, the white grease is going to help them go in better, and it's going to prevent future corrosion. And with the threads cleaned off, you can pretty much put them down and in without even using a tool. You can get them almost all the way seated. So just go nice and easy on that one. They don't have to be crazy tight, especially when you're using that nice gasket. Get them good and snug. If I had to guess, there's probably a torque spec for it somewhere. If I had to guess, it's going to be 20 pounds or so, 15, 20 pounds. That's about it. You don't want to go crazy tight because it is going into an aluminum manifold. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Now we'll be able to determine whether or not the gauge was accurate, the thermostat was working, or the thing is really warming up to where it should be. So all in all, a pretty simple replacement. We don't know if it's a fix because we're not going to know until we start driving it a little bit if the thermostat was actually bad, whether it was good. I mean, we could put it in a pot of hot water and measure that. You know, for the cost of the thermostat, at least we know we got a starting point at this point in the game. Because like I said, when you buy a used vehicle that's got a lot of unknowns, sometimes you got to replace some of these inexpensive maintenance parts. Really, a thermostat is almost a maintenance part. You know, tune up, things like that, just so that you have a good baseline of where you're going. But now we can, you know, use this as another factor into trying to get our diagnosis straight for why the vehicle is having a little issues running well when the engine's cold. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll get back to you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed it. Comments down in the box below. Concerns, did I do it wrong? Did you not like my white grease? I put white grease on everything. Make it easier for the next guy, because the next guy may very well be you. As always, thanks for watching.